Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. I welcome you to a conversation that will challenge everything you thought you knew about poverty. Now today we're going to explore a profound reality that poverty isn't just a natural occurrence, but a system designed to maintain inequality and control. Now, as we'll hear from different individuals in these videos, poverty is in fact manufactured. It's perpetuated by a complex web of policies, practices, and power dynamics that keep people struggling, overworked, and stuck in survival mode. From the prohibition on collecting rainwater to grocery stores incinerating food instead of donating it, we will examine the ways in which the system is rigged against the most vulnerable. Now, we'll also take a look into the world of student loan dirt, where universities that were once free now saddle students with mortgage-sized loans, regardless of job prospects. And we'll also explore the myth that following one's passion will inevitably lead to financial success, a notion that benefits the wealthy but not the average person. So with that said, let's take a look at these interesting videos as different people share their thoughts and their knowledge on this. I'll be right back.
I just finished watching this video from a creator named Sheila, and she's actually a lawyer on this platform. I wanted to stitch it because what she said just absolutely stopped me in my tracks, but she has stitches off, so I wanted to give you guys my take. In one of these videos, she talked about a CEO who allegedly said Americans need to be kept hungry so they keep showing up to work. There was also mention of Elon Musk's mother saying that the poors need to keep having children so that her son has people to work in his factories. Now, I could not personally find sources for these quotes, but even if they are paraphrased or symbolic, they are painting a picture on a system that thrives on inequality, a system that works hard to keep people struggling and overworked and stuck in survival mode, because that is how control is maintained. She also talked about this in relation to the TikTok ban from a lawyer's perspective, which I thought was really interesting. But essentially, the point that she's trying to get across is poverty doesn't just happen. It's manufactured. Like how people aren't allowed to collect rainwater, or grocery stores incinerate food because it's about to go bad instead of donating it. And it takes effort to keep people believing that the status quo is normal. It's no coincidence that universities in the US historically were free. But now, people are being told to take on mortgage-sized student loan debt for any degree, regardless of job prospects. We're out here telling regular people to follow their passions and the money will come, but that's not what the rich do. But it's designed like this for normal folks because that's the system. The more debt you're in, the more tied you are to your job, the easier you are to exploit. You get stuck, you lose free choice because you've already sold tomorrow's hours. And then add on to that the societal pressure to spend extravagantly on your wedding. Even though I cannot tell you how many people I talk to who are still paying off their wedding after the divorce. Spend to the max of your pre-approval for a house. The bank's gotcha. Buy on credit cards. Keep up with the Joneses. You could just pay it back later. Access to debt becomes an illusion of freedom. And a lot of people follow down this path because they are told that they should. And growing up, I saw this firsthand, right? My family rode the poverty line. I saw them struggle. And I started to believe for a long time that struggle was just a part of life. But it's not a part of life for everyone. Now, after being around wealthy people and becoming wealthy myself, the difference is staggering. Rich people don't play by the same rules that regular people have been told to follow. They do the opposite of what the masses are doing. Asset prices go through the roof and regular people catch FOMO. But when they inevitably crash, because that is the market cycle, the rich people swoop in and scoop up those assets for pennies on the dollar. While everyone else is scared because that's what the media is telling them to be, the rich people are the ones coming in and making the money. And let's get real, the marketing that we are exposed to on a daily basis is nothing but propaganda. It's designed to create a problem you didn't even know you had and then sell you the solution. It keeps you buying, it keeps you consuming, and it keeps you on this treadmill of feeling like you're never enough unless you have more. That's why regular people stay stuck and the rich keep getting richer. Because here's the thing, the system actually isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to, keeping the majority trapped while a few stay on top in control. The middle class is disappearing, and this is intentional. A strong middle class threatens their power. People who see through the bullshit, like we are all starting to do on this app, threatens their power. Because people stop believing the bullshit that they're being fed, and they use this to communicate with other people and share what's really going on. The thing here that I want you to take out of this is you don't have to play their game. You can learn to build wealth. You can learn to escape. When I started doing the opposite of everything that I had been told to do, that is when I got rich. That is when I found my freedom. I went from $40,000 in debt to millionaire at 30, not because I followed the rules, but because I questioned them. I did this by learning how to get my money working for me, like the rich do, instead of just working myself into the ground for someone else. If you are tired of being told to settle for less, this is your wake-up call.
Social institutions are here to control the behavior and expectations of the people within them. What are social institutions, you say? Stuff like poverty. You want to talk about it? This series, I'm going to call this series How to Get Out of the Poverty Mindset. And the reason why I'm so big on talking about this is because people have so many excuses as to why they're not making any more money, or why they're not making more money, or why they can't have the life that they want. But the truth of the matter is, most of you guys are going to stay in that system because you were programmed to stay in that system. Now, you have people like me, and some people call it breaking out of the matrix. Some people call it, whatever, right? But you have some people who are rebellious like me, who are literally trying to purposely do what I did for the last 34 years of lending me in property. I'm trying to do the opposite of that. And when I started to do the opposite of that, I literally started to do things like listen to podcasts with only millionaires and billionaires and how they spoke, places that they went to, what kind of stuff that they would like to eat, okay, what kind of mindset they had. I started to pay attention to stuff like that, and I started to adapt to that status quo, not within that fucking social institution. Poverty was a mindset before it was even a system. All they have to do is program you to think the way that they want you to think, comply on the level that they want you to comply. Because if you are anything of rebellious, if you are doing something of the opposite, then you are in the top 5% of families. And that means that you make well over $360,000 a year. Usually, me personally, you make over $1 million a year. You hear people talk about this, especially when they talk about like manifestations and stuff, and they like, oh yeah, this is how I manifested this. No, this is how they got out of the system. That's what they need to be saying. This is how I broke out of the matrix. This is how I decided to do the opposite of what I thought I was supposed to be doing, and this is how I made millions. Like I said, most people are going to comply because since kindergarten, you've been taught to comply, go to school, get a job, go to work, take care of your family. That's it. Most people never start the business. They never write the book. You never make the content pieces. Because they have programmed you to think that this is impossible and it can't be that easy. I'm here to tell you it is. Hey, I was in a homeless shelter 2023, December 2023. So this time last year, me and my kids were celebrating Christmas at the homeless shelter. To now being able to do this. How? I got online with my little bitty psychology degree, and I got on here and I was like, I want to be a coach. I want to train people to think differently, to see themselves differently so that they can get out of the systems. Little did I know that I was going to end up here. Little did I know that was going to be my income eventually. I did not know, but I knew that I wanted to do something different than what I've been doing. And this time I decided to bet on myself. So now I have a membership. I have workshops, all of the above, right? And it has me being able to pour into other people and educate other people to get out of the system. Has the benefit of that is, so people like me who sees, oh yeah, Trump wants to defund the school systems. That's fine. That's more money for me, because now I'm already in an educational department teaching people how to build a brand and a business and how to make money off of that and how to monetize off of these social media platforms. That's cool for me, right? If you are a teacher, you're going to benefit from this. Why? Because you are a teacher. You can go freelance and start charging people to teach their kids at home because you've been in this industry for over 10, 20 years. Okay? People who are terrified, they're like, oh my goodness, what are the tax plans coming to play? This is an opportunity for you to make more money. Why are you scared? What are you scared for? Quit letting the media scare you into poverty. You already there. Ain't nothing more they can do to you. You are already settling. You are already not where you want to be. You are already like settling on your job, getting paid every Friday, waiting on somebody to sign a paycheck. You already doing it. What more can they do to you? What happens if you decide to bet on yourself? What happens if you do decide to write that book? If you do decide to open a business? If you do decide to take your, I was really cut off. What happens if you do decide to take your content creation journey seriously and you monetize your social media platforms? These platforms have turned people into millionaires, made me over $500,000. And that don't make no sense. Look at my hair. You see how the humidity in Houston is just trash? The ghetto. But it literally changed my life. Going into digital marketing without selling no DBA, no SWC. I don't have a problem with any of those systems. What I'm saying is I didn't even have to do that. Digital marketing is literally just you using content creation, social media platforms to push your product and services. That's it. If you get good at marketing, if you get good at branding, then you are going to have repeated and consistent customers. People are going to love to follow you because you already give out free gems on the regular anyway. right? So I say all that to say that you can think that it's a scam, you can think that it's a pyramid scheme, and you are the very people that they're going to keep in poverty, because only people who have a poverty mindset and who are stuck in the system in which was created for them to cultivate in, which is my phone get muted. But basically what I'm saying is that system and that thought process was created in poverty, and the only people who think like that are the people in poverty, broke and ain't got nothing, and have settled and just go to work every day and don't do nothing else. That's it. The people who think outside the box are the people who are in the top at least 15% of families. At least 15%. If you can make over $500,000 in a year, you're winning.
You're so scared to manifest money and to be seen as greedy, but what if I told you that poverty was manufactured? So let's talk about it. Poverty is one of those things that we're just told, oh, it just is what it is. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if poverty isn't actually a natural state? Because it's not. What if it was manufactured? Now, I know this sounds big, but stay with me. If this is the very first video of mine that you're seeing, hi, I'm Demi. I'm an EFT tapping practitioner, certified, trained, and I'm a reprogramming coach, which means I help people reprogram their subconscious minds to escape these types of propaganda mindsets, lack mindset, scarcity, trauma. Basically, I help you live your dream reality. So we've all been programmed with ideas about money and scarcity. We're told that there's not enough and that it's selfish to want more and that we need to leave more for others. But what do all those beliefs have in common? Well, they're planted like a little seed in a little garden, and that garden is your subconscious mind. And they're nurtured and they're watered by systems that thrive on keeping people stuck, keeping people poor, and us focusing on fighting each other rather than putting our focus on what is actually going to change our lives. But here's the thing, just because these beliefs have been passed down or planted or programmed into us doesn't mean that they have to stay. It doesn't matter if you've had them for 60, 70 years. You can reprogram them right now and live out the rest of your life how you want to, with beliefs that serve your dream and your dream reality. Because you have the power to shift. You have the power to escape those programs and rewrite your programs. You have neuroplasticity in your brain, which means you can rewire your brain. And this isn't about like ignoring challenges and real world problems and putting our heads in the sand. No, this is about reclaiming our power and realizing how powerful we are and how much of an impact we make when we change our subconscious programs and how we affect the world with our own perception. Because let me tell you, if you feel broke, if you feel poor, if you feel dirty and gross, and you're having other people projecting that onto you, it's going to make that program a whole lot more solidified to you than if you're the only person thinking that and everyone else is thinking you're a wonderful person and you're trying your best and you've absolutely got it together, and even though things haven't gone your way, it doesn't matter, things are going to go your way. Imagine the difference that would change within you or with a person, in a person that is experiencing that, when it's just themselves that they have to challenge with and not society or the outside world. Now, what I do is I help people break free of these subconscious programs by using EFT tapping. And EFT tapping is a tool that helps you go deeper into your subconscious mind and your subconscious programs to remove those beliefs around scarcity, those programs, those fears, and inherently making room for something new, for a new program to take place, for a new program to be seeded. Now imagine if more of us did this. Imagine if the world totally shifted and everyone stepped out of their scarcity mindset and their poverty propaganda mindset. Imagine the type of world change we would create when we stopped reinforcing the belief and the story that we have to suffer and struggle. Now, poverty may have been something that is manufactured, but abundance, that's cultivated. That's something you create, and you can start right now with a decision to release and reprogram and finally make room for more. If you resonate with me and this video, then head to my link in bio and check out my manifestation membership.
You have been programmed to be poor. It's not a coincidence that 80% of the world's population is living paycheck to paycheck, with 40% living below the poverty line. Think of your brain as a supercomputer. Now, a computer has got something that we call the operating system. The operating system tells the computer what to do, also tells the computer which other softwares or apps it's compatible with and the ones that it's not compatible with.
If you have a computer from 30 years ago that has got an old operating system and then you try to upload the latest apps, most likely it's going to tell you error. Your subconscious mind is the operating system that is running things on the background. I could teach you everything I know about money alchemy, but if you have got the poverty programming software in your subconscious mind, it's useless. 80% of the world's population have got the poor software in their programming, and it's no fault of your own. You didn't even know it. You never chose that software. Between 0 to 7 years old, these are called the formative years, where the child starts to get a download, the programming. That's why the Jesuits used to brag, give me a child between 0 to 7 years old, and I will show you the man that is going to become. There's a subconscious mind, and this is the conscious mind. Subconscious mind, we have learned, is running 90%. It's the king, baby. Now, what are beliefs? These are repeated habits. Supposing you grew up in a home that told you money is evil, you must work hard for money, money is scarce, only bad people have got money, then you have a very unhealthy relationship with money. And it doesn't matter how much you try to manifest, how much I teach you money alchemy, it's not gonna work. So then what we do? It's either we upgrade and have a good and healthy relationship with money, or we entirely delete this hole and put a new one. John 21 verses 6 tells us how the disciples had not caught any fish, but when Jesus met them, he told them, cast your net on the right side of the sea. And when they did, they caught so much fish that they could not even fit them in the boat. It is a metaphor. It's simply talking about your right side of the brain, which is the subconscious mind, responsible for 90% of running your life.
So while we're on the topic of poverty is manufactured, I'd like to remind you guys of a few little things. It used to be required that everyone takes home ec. We are not taught how to do our own taxes. We are not taught what the process is on how to buy our own home. We are not taught home ec in schools most of the time anymore. We're not taught how to work on our own cars or our own appliances. We're not taught how to go shopping anymore. That's usually included in home ec. We're not taught how to buy a car, because tell me why that process is so insane. We're really not taught about finances at all. We're not really taught in depth about the stock market and how to participate. And if we want knowledge on any of those things, we have to pay for that knowledge, or we pay somebody else to do it for us. And don't get me started on planned obsolescence and the fact that everything is subscription based now. So we really don't own anything. And our products that we do and can own are cheaply made and do not hold up. So yeah.
I want you to think for a minute. You actually do more harm by blaming poverty on huge systems such as capitalism, lack of education and resources, and even worse when you say there's ism or things like that. How is the individual ever supposed to combat those circumstances, especially if you tie it into someone's ethnicity or gender? Things that they're not going to wake up tomorrow and have be different. It actually destroys the human will and potential that people can change. Instead, the truth is really recognizing that it's a culture, it's shared belief. It really is a program. It's a habitual way of looking at the world, of thinking, a mindset, habits of feeling, habits of belief about oneself that keeps us trapped in our circumstances. No, your circumstances do not control your life. You control your life, and you can change those by changing your mindset.
The way the media represents the economic crisis that's going on in this country just absolutely baffles me. Basically, this is saying that people that make less than $75,000 a year, which is 50% of the population, are living paycheck to paycheck, like so close that one paycheck will send them over the edge into homelessness. And they're not talking about after-tax dollars, they're talking about pre-tax dollars. So the average household income of $74,000 and then the average monthly expenses in between $6,000 and $9,000 for a family of four, the math is not mathing. And every time I post videos like this, the comment section blows up about how people are not making this much money and they cannot afford their bills, even if they do. The media just dances around the fact that the United States is becoming completely unlivable for the average citizen, and this is as if we don't all notice what's happening. Gaslighting tactics to make you think that you specifically are doing something wrong and you just need to do better, instead of letting you know, like, hey, we're all in this together.
Over 37 million Americans live in poverty, including 11 million children, making poverty the most insidious form of generational trauma. Chronic stress rewires the brain, damaging emotional regulation, decision-making, and learning for life. Children born into poverty are 32% less likely to escape it, trapped in cycles where the top 1% controls 34% of wealth, while the bottom half share just 2%. This trauma isn't your failure, it's the system's design. Reject shame, name the system, and fight for change.
Now, the notion that poverty is manufactured is a stark reality that has been obscured by the veil of societal norms and economic systems. The truth is that poverty is not an inevitable consequence of individual failures or a natural outcome of market forces. Rather, it is a deliberate construct designed to maintain power dynamics, perpetuate inequality, and serve the interests of the wealthy elite. Now, the manufacture of poverty is a complex and multifaceted process involving the manipulation of economic systems, policies, and institutions. It is perpetuated through the creation of debt, the exploitation of labor, and the concentration of wealth. Now, the consequences are devastating, with millions of people around the world struggling to survive, deprived of basic human dignity, and forced to live in perpetual insecurity. Now, one of the most insidious ways poverty is manufactured is through the creation of debt. The proliferation of predatory lending practices, serious interest rates, and crippling student loan debt has ensnared millions of people in a circle of debt that is almost impossible to escape. Now, this is an accident because it is a deliberate strategy to maintain control over individuals, forcing them to prioritize debt repayment over other essential needs. Now, another way poverty is manufactured is through the exploitation of labor, the erosion of workers' rights, the suppression of wages, and the proliferation of precarious work arrangements have created a labor market that is rigged against workers. Now, this is not a natural consequence of market forces, but it is a deliberate choice made by those who benefit from the exploitation of labor. The concentration of wealth is another key factor in the manufacture of poverty. The relentless pursuit of poverty, the avoidance of taxes, and the manipulation of economic policies have also created a system in which wealth is increasingly concentrated in the hands of a tiny elite. And this is not a meritocratic outcome. It is a deliberate construct designed to maintain the power and privilege of the wealthy. Now, the manufacture of poverty is also perpetuated through the manipulation of institutions and policies, the deliberate dismantling of societal safety nets. The erosion of public services and the manipulation of economic policies have created a system that is hostile to the needs of the poor. Now, this is not an accident because it is a deliberate choice made by those who benefit from the maintenance of poverty. We typically don't talk about poverty as a condition that benefits some of us. Desmond writes in his Morally Charged Manifesto, "It seems we prefer more absorbing theories of the problem." Now, books about poverty tend to be books about the poor. The sociologist Matthew Desmond writes in Poverty by America, "That's true whether the motivation is to blame the poor for their lot, chronicling the supposed pathologies creating a culture of poverty, or more commonly nowadays, to generate empathy via detailed ethnographies of survival and urgency amid deprivation." Now, it was true of the first books that set out systematically map and measure poverty, such as the Victorian reformer Charles Booth's 17-volume Life and Labor of the People in London, and of progressive era attempts to rattle the consciences of the well-off, like Jacob Riis' document of the New York Testament Life, How the Other Half Lives. Now, when Michael Harrington wrote his 1962 classic, The Other America, a work of morally charged narrative nonfiction often credited with helping to inspire the war on poverty, now his aim was to reveal the socially invisible poor to the rest of America, a cocoon of post-war prosperity and complacency. Now, he wrote blinkered middle-class women coming in from suburbia on a rare trip, who might catch the merest glimpse of the other America on the way to an evening at the theater. It also blinkered the business or professional man who might drive along the fingers of slums in a car or bus without regarding it as an important experience. Now, the book's dominant rhetorical modes, as Harrington's biographer Morris Easterman notes, were paradox and revelation. If the scales were put from the eyes of his well-meaning readers, they would see in the shadows of American plenty tens of millions of poor people whom Harrington catalogued and described rural poor, city-dwelling slum poor, alcoholic skid row poor, and so on, all of them urgently needing the help of the government and liberal elites. Even a book like Charles Morray's Losing Ground, an influential neocon attack on welfare dependency from 1984, focused on the poor themselves, if only so that Morray might make an argument about how they had immiserated themselves by adapting to anti-poverty policies. Now, at its core, poverty is created and sustained by systems of inequality, exploitation, and oppression. One of the primary ways poverty is created is through economic systems that prioritize profit over people. Capitalism, in particular, is built on the principles of competition, exploitation, and accumulation. Now, this creates a system where wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, while the majority are left to fight for scraps. Now, the exploitation of labor is another key factor in the creation of poverty. When workers are paid poverty wages, denied benefits, and forced to work in precarious conditions, they are unable to afford basic necessities like housing, healthcare, and education. Now, this creates a cycle of poverty that is difficult to escape. Systemic inequality also plays a significant role in perpetuating poverty. Racial, gender, and other forms of discrimination limit access to education, employment, and healthcare, making it even harder for marginalized communities to escape poverty. Now, once poverty is created, it is sustained through a variety of mechanisms. One of the most insidious is the debt trap. When individuals are forced to take on debt to survive, they become trapped in a cycle of debt repayment that can last for years, even decades. Now, this limits their ability to invest in education, healthcare, and other essential needs, perpetuating poverty. Now, the criminal justice system also plays a significant role in sustaining poverty. When individuals are incarcerated, they are often forced to take on debt, lose access to education and job training, and face significant barriers to employment upon release. Now, this creates a cycle of poverty and incarceration that is difficult to break. And poverty is sustained through the manipulation of public policy. When governments prioritize the interests of corporations and the wealthy over those of low-income communities, they perpetuate poverty. This can take many forms, from tax policies that favor the wealthy to budget cuts that eliminate essential social services. Now that we've exposed the harsh reality that poverty is manufactured, it's time for a paradigm shift. We must collectively reject the insidious narrative that poverty is an inevitable natural phenomenon. Now, this mindset has been ingrained in us for far too long, perpetuating a cycle of hopelessness and powerlessness. For generations, we've been conditioned to believe that poverty is an unbreakable chain binding us to a life of struggle and scarcity. We've been led to think that our circumstances are a result of our own failures, rather than a consequence of systemic design. But today we must awaken to the truth. Poverty is a human-made construct designed to maintain power and control. And it is time to shatter the illusion that poverty is an immutable force. We must recognize that our minds are a battleground where this war is won or lost. Now, the poverty mindset is a psychological prison constructed to keep us in a state of subservience and dependency. But we have the power to break free. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do you our viewers have to say? Share your thoughts, your views, your contributions as well in the comment section. Thank you for always watching, and see you in our next video as we bring you another interesting video.